There may be a contention that there is no such thing as a BAME community, I would argue. I would suggest that we have people in the army and the armed forces who may have certain attributes that conform with the definition of BAME, but I think the notion that there is a BAME community could be slightly misinterpreted and misleading. But I recognise it's a way of trying to bring some form of order in describing a wide-ranging collective of people.
In the British Army, you do only get promoted on merit. It doesn't matter what colour skin you have or what religion you are. I, for example, joined the Army 20 years ago. I've come up through the ranks. I commissioned last year, and I'm here now because of hard work. When it comes to filling quotas, we can only promote who's in the army at the time, but the trick is getting them from civilian street into the army. So the quotas are there, of course they are, but the army will still train the finest soldiers in the world.
I think the network is there to offer, like myself and soldiers from the BAME community, support and that reassurance if they need to. So if they're unsure of something or someone that they can't speak to, then I think it's there for them to have that support to them and also to the chain of command if they need any information in terms of cultural awareness.
The difference between the military and other organisations in our country is that we grow our talent from the bottom up. We haven't got a process of lateral entry. So the people who get to the higher ranks in the army have come from the bottom, and it takes time. And so we are now seeing people getting to full colonel, lieutenant colonel. We are seeing that as a consequence of what we invested in several years ago.
Rastafarian was classified as more of a belief or way of life, and only recently it's been registered as a religion. It allows you to grow your hair, and the whole point of the hair, and people see the hair, and that's what identifies you as a Rastaman. It's basically, if you know the story of Samson, it's not cutting hair off your body, and they believe that that's their strength and that. So I stand out everywhere I go with dreadlocks, especially in the army. If you see me on the street, you would never guess that I'm a soldier.
The network is really beginning now. The launch is the beginning of this, and through the last year a committee of 13 with another dozen or so colleagues have been trying to wrap our heads around what we think is the gap in the market. And we don't claim to have actually the answers, nor indeed do we claim to be able to describe what problems or requirements there are. But we think there is a gap in the market. We look at the successes of the LGBT Forum, the Army Service Women's Network, various other associations that are out there, and we haven't seen anything that is focused on BAME personnel.
The BAME network is not only there to represent BAME service personnel and civilians, but also the chain of command that support those BAME soldiers.
Yeah, of course I want to encourage more people to climb the ranks, and it's taking perhaps too long. I was just in the hall there referring to Colin Powell, who was the head of the American Armed Forces 27 years ago, and of course I'd love to be like that, but we have started later than the American Army, and I'm going to do all I can to help people to get senior appointments in the Army from the BAME community.
A white soldier is as important as a black soldier, as a Asian soldier. We all wear the same uniform, we all go through the same training.
We're equal employers, same with women and men, and they get the same opportunities and variety and pay as everybody else.
The changes I would suggest are not so much on how the army looks, but it's the attitude the army has. The young soldiers today are far more welcoming than perhaps they were when I was a young soldier 20 years ago. That to me is very, very important indeed.